Hey, thank you so much for watching, listening. Totally stoked to hang out with you. And I have a cool guest I want to introduce to you. However, the first thing I want you to do is to subscribe. Seriously, you need to subscribe because we've got great content, phenomenal interviews. Love the people that I get to hang out with and introduce to you. So here's my new friend, Larry Duggar. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Totally nice to meet you. We've never met before, so
No.
you get to experience this exciting, fun interview. So Larry, give us some background. Where are you from? Kind of what do you do? Who are you?
Absolutely. Well, obviously my name is Larry Duggar, and I'm the lead pastor at Family Church in Lebanon, Missouri. And we are just a non-denominational church of several hundred, and that's always challenging and fun. And I'm also an author. I've written several books, and also written some books for the Discovery Channel, some outdoor adventure kind of books. But my main thing is usually Christian nonfiction. I think it's sometimes called Christian self-help. I call it Christian self-confrontation. And so that seems to be a little better way to describe what I write. But so married. My wife Karen is a kindergarten teacher.
Nice.
And have a couple of grown boys who are married, and have a little grandson named Judah who's about a year old, and he's awesome. And so it's a busy life.
Yeah, absolutely. And where are you born and raised?
I was actually born and raised in Missouri, just about an hour from where I pastor, a tiny little town of Hartville, 400 people there. And I've kind of pastored around a couple places and just found my way back home a few years ago.
To Lebanon?
Lebanon,
Is there a street called Beirut?
No. But sometimes when I talk to people on the phone, they think that that's where they're talking. So,
yeah, I understand. That's fun. That's fun. So when you talk about doing outdoor stuff, and you've done some books for Discovery, what does that mean?
Well, I'm an avid hunter and an avid outdoors person. And so I just wrote a book called The Ultimate Hunter's Handbook. And it's just basically, tips and techniques and things that you can utilize when you're either hunting or just spending some time outside. And there's also some devotions that are included in there, how to include God in that process. So it's pretty cool.
And hunting, like, what do you enjoy hunting?
Where I live, you can hunt deer, turkeys. It's kind of the big things that we hunt.
Wild turkey?
Yeah, wild turkeys. Yeah, lots of.
Do you eat them?
We do, for sure. Yeah,
Are they
very
good?
They are, absolutely.
Not gamey?
Not at all. No, for sure.
And so what do you use for guns?
For turkeys, shotguns is what you use for turkeys.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what do you do quail at all?
Yeah, there's quail where we live. Yeah, no pheasants. I almost hit a pheasant on the way up here because I drove like 15 hours through Kansas. It wasn't 15 hours, but it seemed like that it was. And actually saw a pheasant flew right across the road in front of me. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And for a deer, what do you use to shoot a deer?
You can use a deer rifle. Pretty much any caliber of a deer rifle you can use. But
you ever do bow and arrow hunting?
I do. Yeah, bow hunt a lot. Spend a lot of time in the woods bow hunting. Killed lots of deer, lots of turkeys with my bow.
Serious?
So, yeah, for sure.
You have more than one bow?
I have 3, I think. Don't tell my wife. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look, but I think I have 3.
So when did you pick up bow hunting?
I started where I live. Everybody starts hunting as soon as they can walk, right? So as soon as you can pick up a gun or pick up a bow, you're out there, in the woods with your dad doing your thing. Yeah.
Huh. So you started bow hunting early on?
Early on, yeah, real early. As soon as you can pull back the bow, you're ready to go. Usually that's about 8 years old.
Yeah. And your dad obviously introduced this to you?
Yeah, my dad hunts a lot and just come from a big hunting family and people who spend time outside and when you're able to take the outdoor element and then you can introduce your relationship with God, and it's really easy to go out in the woods and look around and know that, hey, somebody did all of this and they did it for my enjoyment. It's something that I can not only go out and have fun, but I can also use that as an opportunity to really connect with the Creator. That's I tell people, I joke at my church all the time, and I tell them, I feel closer to God when I'm in the woods than I do sometimes at the prayer meeting, right? And so, because that's the way I connect with Him.
Yep.
And so we're all different.
Totally true.
Yeah.
So what about going outside, because Missouri, southern Missouri, when you hit December, January, February, it was kind of cold. So do you still do your outdoor thing
For
then?
sure, yeah.
You do?
Most hunting season happens in the wintertime months. But Missouri's cold, but not cold like here, like in Colorado. It was 80 when I left Missouri, and it was 35 when I got here
Yeah.
this week. So
But
it
it's
was
different.
very cold.
It's different because like I lived in Kansas City for a little while,
Okay, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And honestly, I was a crossing guard,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So I helped cross little kids across the street, and it was colder in Kansas
hmm
City in January than it is here.
Oh,
And the
really?
reason why is because of the humidity.
Yeah, the air's colder. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That dampness in the air kind of
Yeah,
settles in your
exactly.
bones a little bit.
So do you camp and
Yeah.
all that, even in the wintertime? Like
I
sleep under a tent and all
I
that?
camp at the Holiday Inn. So yeah,
Nice.
I tell people like if there's not an omelet bar, I'm not going. Like I want to go outside and spend all day
Yeah.
and do that. But at night I want to be
You want
I
a
want to be
bed.
in a bed
Yeah.
and I want to shower. I want a bathroom. So I don't know.
Not into the camping thing.
No, I'm a little spoiled.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
understand that. And your boys, do they also
They do.
hunt and
Yeah,
all
for
that?
sure. Yeah, got a couple of grown boys and both married, and so it's opportunity to hang out with them too.
Yeah.
Spend time with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's always nice.
Why'd you get into pastoring?
Well, I was called into ministry really early in life, about 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of knew from jump that I was going to be a senior pastor, but not many people want a 16-year-old senior pastor.
Right.
So I started I was a youth pastor for a number of years, and
Yep.
I was a kids pastor for a
Yep.
number of years.
Yeah.
And then from there, just transitioned into the lead pastor role, and have been doing that for about 26 years now. I've been a lead pastor, and it's been good. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah. So no, I don't know a lot of 16-year-old men who like want to be a pastor.
Yeah.
So what was that? I mean, how did that happen?
It was different. I didn't grow up as a Christian. My parents weren't Christians.
Yep.
And so I didn't know about what it meant to be called. Like I didn't know what it meant to be called into ministry
Sure.
or called into anything.
Sure.
I thought you just chose ministry as a job because that's something that you wanted to do.
Sure.
And so at 16 years old, I went to a youth camp, and where I heard about Jesus and that he loved me and that he wanted to have a relationship with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never heard about Jesus in that way before.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of knew about God and about all the rules and all of those
Yeah.
things, but I never heard about this Jesus who loved me
Mm.
and just wanted to be my friend. And that night, I committed my life to Jesus. And in that moment, I guess what we would call it in the church is I received my calling or my mantle from God. And that night, I heard that internal voice inside me that just said, Larry, I need you, and I need you to help people find and follow me. And in that moment, I knew that would be my life's work. And so far, I'm 48 years old, and so far, so good.
And when you told your parents, were they super excited? Woohoo! We're so stoked for you.
Well, they sent me to that camp because they said either go there and change, or we're going to have to figure out some other arrangement for you to live here.
Yeah.
Because I was such a bad, just a bad kid, or not a bad kid, a kid who made bad choices.
Yeah.
I guess is probably a better way to say that. And so, not long after I began to follow Christ, so did they.
Oh.
And so now I'm their pastor.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
When you say like you made bad choices, what were those bad choices?
I think for me, growing up in a small town, there's not a lot to do except for, drink and party and do things that obviously are not good for you, but also things that don't glorify God because they're destructive, right?
Yeah.
He loves us. He doesn't withhold things from us because he's mad at us or because he's a bad God. He withholds certain things from us because he knows where that it leads, and he just wants the best life.
So here's a question, because I know like you've done some, like self-help or, stuff like that. Recently, Naomi Judd died from suicide, right? I don't know if you heard that or not. But recently.
I've been traveling the last couple of days, but I have seen it a little bit. Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody who's struggling with some of that darkness? Because that's a dark place.
It is. And my new book, Unshakable, is actually could have been titled "What to Do on the Worst Day of Your Life." And it revolves around the last 3 hours that Jesus hung on the cross, and I love the way the Message translation phrases those verses. It says that Jesus experienced a total blackout.
Mm.
And I think with suicide, for sure, I think people cannot see a path forward.
Mm.
And so when Jesus is hanging on the cross in his last few minutes, he says something that's so powerful that we just kind of skip over it. He says, "It is finished," but he never said, "I'm finished."
Mm.
And I love that. It may be finished. The divorce may happen. You may lose the job. The relationship may never come back. It may be over,
Mm.
but you're not over.
Wow.
God still has a plan and purpose for your life, and sometimes we forget that after Jesus's darkest day, he had his brightest light. He had his brightest shine.
Mm.
God took him through all of that, through Gethsemane and through the crucifixion, and through all of those dark seasons, only to bring him into a better place.
Mm.
And I think a lot of times people, they just can't see that. And obviously the enemy is working to try to blind us
Yeah.
to the truth.
Yeah.
He wants us to believe that this is just it. It's never going to get any better. That life is never going to be good again, and we know that that's a lie.
Mm.
That God, He's not only with us when the sun's shining, but He's with us when the sun goes down, and even in a greater way.
Mm-hmm.
God is. David said, "The Lord is near those who have a broken heart, and He's close to those who have a crushed spirit."
Mm.
And, I think sometimes we think God is closest to those who are his most fierce champions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, God is super close to that person. Look at all this great ministry that they're doing.
Sure.
But it's not that brings God close. Obviously he'll partner with that, but it's our pain that brings him closer.
Mm.
It's like, it's our brokenness that brings God just right there in that moment that we need him. And, that's hard. It's hard to trust God when you're hurting. That's the transition point. But we can.
Mm-hmm.
We can. I love Romans 8:28. It talks about how that God works all things together for good. And one thing I used to be a practicing Christian counselor, had a practice for a number of years.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I used to tell a lot of my clients is, if it's not good, God's not done. And so you just have to keep going, right?
Yeah.
And you'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This has come to pass.
Yeah, for sure. For
right?
sure.
To pass.
It's going to pass.
Yeah.
And it not only is it going to pass, but God will make it up to you. I'm 48, and I've walked through some seasons of real darkness in my life. And I can tell you that at the end, God has always made it up to me. And with interest, but at the time, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. I think of the tomb of Jesus. We see that as being a place of just utter confusion and chaos and just the darkest night. But I try to look at the tomb of Jesus as being more of a waiting room. Jesus was waiting in that dark place. As God was arranging everything that needed to happen in order for him to walk out. And not only walk out even more victorious than when he walked in, but also with now power over death and hell and the grave that he now gives to me. And so he came out with not only more for himself, but also with something for me too, and that's ministry, right? So when we take what we've been through and we pass that on to other people. And man, the enemy would love for that to be wasted. And you were talking about Naomi Judd, and I know she, even as a boy, I remember her as a Christian, right? As a strong Christian, as someone who proclaimed the light of God, and yet sometimes even children of the light find themselves in the dark. Yeah, and that's true for all of us, right? But thank God, we never went in alone, and we're never in there alone, and we always come out on the other side. But we just have to trust
and keep walking.
Absolutely.
Don't get stuck in it.
Yeah, don't get stuck. It's like I don't know. It looks like a dark cave, but God wants to bring us out of that into His glorious light, and He will. If we just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep going.
Day after day after day.
After day after day, right?
Mhm,
Even in the hard
mhm,
stuff,
mhm.
even in the,
Great is his faithfulness.
for sure,
Morning by morning, new mercies I see.
sure. Even in the
Mhm.
crud, right? Life
Yeah.
is sometimes pretty cruddy,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mentioned I was a professional counselor for a long time, and most of my clients were Christians.
Yeah.
And so they would come into my office and they would just be in shock that they're going through this hard thing,
Mm.
you know? And which is exactly the opposite of what Jesus said. Jesus said, in this world, you're going to have trouble,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He promised us that we'd have some trouble, but he also said, I'll never leave you, right? And that's, that promise is true. And I'm so thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
Totally helps a lot. Well, thank you for hanging out. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for subscribing and watching. Of course, you want to hit the notification bell right there. That'll give you content post when we put up new content. Keep you posted on that. Also, here's a question I want you to think about, ask you to answer. What is your favorite? I'm going to kind of frame this right. What is your favorite meat to eat? Now, I know some of you don't eat meat. Some of you are vegan. That's totally fine. And I'm 100% on your page. But for those of you who eat meat, what is your favorite meat to eat? And if you're vegan, what is your favorite, this is an alternative question, what's your favorite protein? Right? Because there's a lot of ways to get protein. So that's the question for you to answer. Kind of interesting to think about that. And of course, we have these fantastic, completely amazing jokes. I say dripping with sarcasm. When I found out my toaster wasn't waterproof, I was completely shocked. So stupid.
Dad joke. That's a dad
It is
joke.
a bad joke, but thanks again. We'll catch you next week.